Thank you very much. Can everybody hear me well or good enough? Yeah. They gave me the table, but it felt a bit formal, you know. I don't have that much knowledge. That one is for the people with the real knowledge, you know. I just sit up front and hopefully I can just talk to you guys and resonate in some way. It's good, alhamdulillah, to see a lot of young brothers here today. You guys all on summer holidays?
Yes.
You enjoying the summer?
Yeah.
What's the plans for the summer? Just have fun?
Yeah.
Who are you going to have fun with?
My friend.
Your friends? Is any of your friends here today?
Yeah.
Which one? Is your friend? How long you known each other for?
Like, I don't even remember, like.
You don't remember? It's not a very good friendship, is it?
I mean, as in, like, a long time.
A long time.
Yeah.
Do you remember how long you've known each other for? Huh? That he doesn't know, but it's good, mashallah. It's good that we got friends in the place because that's actually what I wanted to talk about today. These two young brothers, it's great that you guys came together. What's your name, brother? Sorry, I didn't catch it. Alma. What is it?
Alma.
Okay, and you, brother?
Ryan.
Ryan. Oh, beautiful names. So you guys play football?
Yeah.
Who's better? Are you sure? Who's better?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
You're not sure? It's a debate. I think it's important to have community, you know. I think that's why we're all here. I think it's important to have friends. I think it's important to have companions. One of the biggest things I found though is that nowadays, especially with social media, you know, and I can speak to it, where you have thousands of followers, millions of followers, you know, sometimes tens of millions of followers, we throw around the term friend so loosely, you know, and the term friend is something that you have to value because not everybody that is your friend is there for you for the right reasons, you know, and today I want to talk to that. So when you go away, hopefully we can understand the quality of friendships and why it's important to have good friends and why it's important to surround yourself with good friends. As the said, I'm a spoken word poet, so I do poetry. So is it okay if I start with a poem about friendship? Is that okay? Okay. They say, if you truly want to know yourself, take a look at your 5 closest friends, because we're a reflection of the people that we spend the most time with. Like it or not, like them or not. Because when I was a young basketball player, I only started to learn how to jump when all of my friends started to dunk. When I was in school, I only started messing around in class when all of my friends started to flunk. Think about it. When you got your grades, who was the first person you asked? How did you do in English, maths, or art? And you always thought your grades were okay as long as you got more A's than your mates. But when you guys go to college or uni, you never end up in the same place. That's why it's important to have friends with benefits. Because if they don't add to your life, then they subtract from it. And if they do nothing at all, that's just as bad because breaking even isn't an exact profit. Because as people, we look at our environment and we adapt to it. So if you surround yourself with bums, what do you expect would be the outcome? And when I say the word friend, I use air quotes. Because if you look at my social media, I have 100,000 friends on Facebook, 300,000 friends on YouTube, 60,000 on Twitter. But when life gets real, all they can do is like my picture. So am I saying that it's important to have friends with benefits? Of course it is. Because if they don't add to your life, as I said, they subtract from it. But what is a friend with benefit? Not that friend that calls you boring because you don't want to get drunk. Not that friend that smokes and makes you the butt of the joke because you don't like conforming, even though they know you're an athlete and it affects your performance. A good friend should benefit you mentally, spiritually, physically, and regularly. But a good friend should also benefit someone back because both hands wash each other so they can both wash the face. And how do you become a good friend? By having morals and values that you stick to. Because as Malcolm X said, A man that stands for nothing will fall for anything. So that's why it's important to have friends that benefit each other, because then you can all grow together. Thank you very much. Okay. So that's a piece I wrote many years ago. It's called Friends with Benefits. And the whole point of that piece was to say that if you're in a relationship with someone or you're in a friendship with somebody, you have to make sure that that friendship is reciprocal. It enhances you in some way. Have you guys ever heard the phrase, eagles can't fly with pigeons? Has anybody ever heard that phrase? You've never heard it? So you know what a pigeon is, right? You see lots of pigeons lying around walking on the street all the time, don't you? Sometimes they'll be eating the KFC, even if it's not halal, you know, they'll just be eating the KFC, eating the kebab on the floor. Have you ever seen an eagle walking around?
No.
Because eagles are birds that fly on the highest of altitude. And you know what happens? When the pigeons try to disturb the eagles, what the eagles do is they fly higher and higher and higher until the pigeons can't reach the same altitude as them. And what happens is if you hang around with too many people who are used to eating from the waste or who are used to just taking the scraps and the leftovers and not living their life with a level of accord, you now are dragged down to their level. And in this life, you know, we all want to aspire to be the best of what we can be or to the highest levels that we can ascertain to. And we can't always do that depending on who's in our circle and who we hang around with. You know, when I was your age, a lot of you guys, I presume you guys have best friends, right? Yeah. Who has put your hand up if you have a best friend? Great, you know. At my age now, I've had like 5 best friends because as life happens and it changes and it grows, different people enter your life and different people take that role of a best friend. It's interesting. I know I said I didn't need the table, but I had a few notes that I've just need to make sure I cover. So when it comes to the topic of friendship, it's important to understand which friends are actually there for you and those who are there because of what you do for them or what they think they can get out of you. And this is very, very important during the summer. You're going to spend a lot of time with your friends and people are going to say, do this, do that, go this direction. But the most important thing I always tell my son is that you have a brain and no one else controls that. When I was in university, I had this one friend, great friend, and he was really close with another friend. You see these guys together all the time, all the time, all the time. And one time I saw the guy and I said to him, how's things going? And he goes, oh, I'm not talking to that guy anymore. And these are the closest friends. And I said, why are you not talking to him? And he said to me, I don't want to talk about it. You know, it's a bit embarrassing. I don't want to talk about it. Fine. So a few days later, I see this other friend's Facebook. Let's call him, I don't want to get anybody in trouble. Let's call him Timothy. And I see Timothy's Facebook. And my first friend, let's call him Darren. At the time, before he was friends with Timothy, he was dating this girl. And when I go on Timothy's Facebook, he's with Darren's lady. And that's supposed to be his closest friend. So there's a phrase that says, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. And that, do you guys understand what that means? So it basically means be careful of the people who you're around. So you have your friends, but also you need to be very aware of the people who could be your enemies in your circle. Because every great leader, a lot of great leaders in this world were betrayed by people who they were closest to. If you know Julius Caesar, the Roman emperor, his general betrayed him, Brutus. If you know a very famous African revolutionary from Burkina Faso, his name is Thomas Sankara. The people that turned around and betrayed him were his own generals. And if I go back to my own country, I'm from Ghana, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Ghana was the first country in Africa to gain independence in 1957. And his own army threw a coup against him and they brought him down. He died outside of Ghana. The guy that came and gave Ghana independence died outside of Ghana just because the people that he wanted to help, he didn't help the right people. So it's so important to have the people in your circle that are looking out for you. And can we all say that everyone in our circle wants the best for us right now? Can we all say that? You know, because sometimes some brothers, you know, you may come to Islam, you know, and it's tricky. I went to university, and in university, you know, a lot of things go on. You know, people drink, smoke, they do all these things. I've never drank a lick of alcohol in my life. I've never tasted a cigarette, you know. And it's not that I didn't have friends who who did any of these things, but I had friends who were able to understand and respect who I was. As I said in the poem, you have to have your morals and you'll stick to it. If there's any friends who are leading you astray from your path, you can't really call them your friends. So people would drink around me. I'm not saying you should hang out, and you know, but they'd say when they pass the drink around, they say, no, you know, Suli, he doesn't drink. They respected me. You know, it's so important to create that respect and those boundaries. People would be smoking or do whatever, but they'd say, you know what, Suli, he doesn't do that. That's not his thing. And I think it's so important that when we get in a group, we start to get into this mindset where we feel like we have to conform to the group or the people that we're around. We have to be like them. But you're an individual. And at the end of the day, your individuality is what makes you who you are. It's very funny because when I started writing spoken word poetry is not cool. Do you know anybody who does spoken word poetry? Do you even know what it is? I'm the first one you probably... Everybody was a rapper, you know. You guys know what rappers are, right, though? You know, the rappers, they wear the chains, they walk into the room and everyone says, that's that guy, you know. Especially when I grew up in Wood Green. They walk into the room and they say, you know, I can't think of a name, there's Slash Man, or, you know, there's, you know, or there's, you know, they have all these names, you know, there's, you know, Driver, Mercedes, A2. When you're a spoken word poet, my name is only Suleiman. There was no glamour. And I remember I used to do poetry because it was one of those things where everyone else was doing one thing. You know, you go into the youth clubs and someone has a microphone, and the next thing you see that guy's on the radio, the next thing he's on the TV, and the next thing he's at a festival, and there's thousands of people watching him. And I'm just in my bedroom with my pencil writing about positive messages and all this kind of stuff. And it was very, very difficult for me to not feel like I need to be like that person, or I want to be on the stages. I want to be the guy holding the microphone. I want to be the guy in the festivals. But at the same time, I always knew that that's not who I am because, you know, because of the dean and many other reasons, I write poetry. So it was interesting because me having to keep that strength of character and sticking to who I am, it eventually what led me to get into the next stage of where I needed to be. If I chose to do rap, you know, I wasn't very good, you know, I might have ended up on the festival and all that kind of stuff. But when I started creating YouTube, a lot of you guys are familiar with YouTube now, but back when I was in YouTube, it was 2010. And when I started creating videos for YouTube, everyone was creating videos about cats, dogs, prank videos, you know, all the general kind of stuff. And I came and I started writing these poems about education, about family, about life. And you know what made me stand out from everybody? It was because it was unique. It was something that was specific to me. It's nothing my friends told me to do. It's nothing that I saw everybody else doing, but it's something that I felt in my heart that I had to pursue. And you know what is a really crazy moment after that is that a lot of you may not know there's an artist called there's a crew called So Solid back in the day. Big crew. Any of you guys? Yeah, you guys probably know. Yeah. And I remember when my first video on YouTube went viral, you know, and it hit 2 million views in 1 week. And I'm sitting in the car next to another brother, and he says, "Oh, you guys know Skepta though? Skepta. You shouldn't be listening to that anyway, so don't worry." But he's a very popular figure. And I remember I'm sitting in the car next to the brother, and the brother goes, "You know, your video has a lot of views." And I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Oh, it has more views than the video with Skepta and So Solid. They made they made a video together." And I thought to myself, wow, something that I believed in, something that was specific to me, I managed to make that into something that the whole world would resonate with, because I was being authentic, because I wasn't following the crowd, or because I wasn't chasing the other success of other people. So during the summer, it's so much pressure. There's so many things you see everyone else doing that look so fun. There's so many things that you want to be involved in. But I tell you right now, the moment you find your focus and you find who you are as an individual, the people around you will start to accept that, and they'll start you to allow you to grow in that context. There's an interesting, very, very interesting film. I'm trying to think of how to introduce. It's based on a true story. It's a film called Paid in Full, but it's based on a true story. It's about something that happened in Harlem between different gangs and different cultures. And one of the people, Rich Porter, he was making lots of money. He was making so much money that he was giving money to everybody. You know, he was the person everyone in the neighborhood looked up to. And when you're in a certain lifestyle, what ends up happening is, if you're the person that has all the money, people want to take that money from you. So in order to do that, they extort people. So in order to extort Rich, this Porter, what they did is they kidnapped his nephew. They kidnapped his nephew, and in order to bring his nephew back, they said, "You need to bring us this amount of money." I think it was, I can't remember, like 20,000, whatever, thousand money. So he went to his friends and he said, "Yo, guys, I need to come up with this much money to do this." One of his friends, he said, "You know what? I've got you. Take the money." Another one of his friends said, "I'll meet you with the money." And I'm paraphrasing a bit. And when he went to meet his friend with the money, this guy is his friend. This is someone who's made money with. His friend shot him in cold blood and killed him. This is someone that he's made rich. This is someone he gave opportunities to. His friend killed him in cold blood. And that's the value of not knowing who is in your circle. And you know what made it worse? You know who kidnapped his nephew? His uncle. Who said that? Yeah, his uncle. His uncle kidnapped his nephew. His uncle kidnapped his own flesh and blood. And this is why it's so important to have people around you that are going to enrich you or that are going to grow you. So it's interesting. Aristotle, he's a Greek philosopher, and he talks about friendship. And he says, one of the most important things to understand is there's 3 types of friendship. So we make friends for 3 different reasons. What we tend to realize is the friendships that we like to go towards are the friendships that make us feel good. So friendships of pleasure may be the friend that you play football with, the friend that, you know, you play PlayStation with, you know, and then there's the friendships of utility. Those are people that you may need stuff from. You know, I used to do a lot of jobs. There was people who sometimes I'd be late for work. I needed someone to clock in for me. I'd say, "Bro, can you do that for me so the manager doesn't fire me?" Those are the friends of utility. And then the most important category of friendship is there's the friendships of virtue and goodness. And those are friends who you share the same value with, and the friends who you have morals. And those are the kind of friendships that last the longest. So I'll tell you that out of all the millions of best friends that I've had throughout my life, I still have one friend from primary school. And that brother, he's a Muslim brother, you know, we grew up together, but we shared the same belief system. And when it comes down to it, what stops someone, your uncle, from murdering your nephew, or what stops your friend from shooting you in cold blood, is the morals and the values that you have. So it's so important to have friends who are aligned with your morals and your values versus they have the nice car, or, you know, they let me borrow this PlayStation game, or, you know, yeah, me and them have fun when we go out here and there and there. I feel like it's so easy in this day and age to be confused about the difference between friendship and acquaintances. When I say acquaintances, so I'm in the entertainment industry, and what you realize is, especially when you go to places like LA, Hollywood, you know, everybody is your friend. Everybody's your friend because they think they can gain something from you. And what you realize is people will say, "Oh, he's my friend, contact Suli, he's my friend." And I say to them, "I know him, but he's not my friend. We know each other, we work together, but we're not friends," because when life really hits you or when life gets hard, the people that you go to are the people who know that that they can pick you up, or they believe in the same things that you believe in, or they have the same values. One of my favorite books is a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Has anybody read that book? You guys have you read it, brother? It's a very, very special book because it teaches you the difference between, there's two things, assets and liabilities. This may go over the, you say assets and liabilities. I'm going to break it down to you young brothers, yeah? And this will, and the sisters as well. I keep on forgetting the sisters are up back there listening. Assets and liabilities. This is one thing I'm going to teach you. And 20 years from now, when you guys are successful in whatever you want to do, you're going to say, this old brother called Suli came and he taught me this concept and it changed my life. Inshallah, yeah? Assets are things that you invest in that can grow, or they can make you better, or you can achieve more from. Liabilities are things that they take away from you. I actually have the description. I wrote this down because I wanted to read it. A liability, a person or thing whose presence or behavior is likely to cause embarrassment or put one at a disadvantage. Liabilities put you at a disadvantage. Now, we normally look at this when it comes to business. So let me tell you this. So for instance, a house tends to be an asset because people can invest in a house, you can sell it and lots of things come back. Something like a car. Would you say a car is an asset or liability? Huh? Asset, why'd you say it's an asset? What kind of car, huh? Yeah, if it's a Mercedes, and if it's a banger, then it's not. What would you say a car? You say it's an asset or liability? Huh? No, feel free. It's not school, don't worry. You're not gonna guess, I'm not gonna judge you. Speak up, bro.
I thought liability because obviously the longer you have the car, it will reduce your money.
Exactly, that's a good point as well. Brother at the back, you had. Oh, you didn't have your hand up? You just, okay, cool. He just gave up on it. But no, I think the brother made a good point. Liability is something, the longer you have the car, it depreciates in value. It starts because you start to lose, like, you pay insurance. I had to buy new car tires the other day. I was on the motorway in the car. I pulled over on a hard shoulder. It's not starting again. But at the same time, a car can be an asset. Imagine you have a job, and the job is what's feeding your family. And every day you use that car to drive to work, to provide and grow your household. So that's why it's so important to know the distinction, because a car is a liability, but it can also be an asset depending on how you position it. So if you said trainers, would you say it's asset or liability? Liability. Why would you say it's a liability? He said if you walk on rock and barefoot, it hurts. So yeah, so it can be an asset, yeah, because if you walk on barefoot and rock, it hurts, you know what I mean? But then sometimes I have friends that buy trainers. Someone might buy trainers for £300 and their rent is £350. You know what I mean? And then it becomes a liability. Do you get what I'm saying? So I feel like this is one thing that we often associate and understand in business, but we never think about it when it comes to friendship. We never think about which ones of our friends are assets and which ones are liabilities. And sometimes we have so much love in our heart that we can't even let somebody go. You know what I mean? We can't let somebody go even if they are bringing us down. And I've been there. I had a friend, very, 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 well, I thought he was a very good friend of mine. And the first time my cousins is my blood, first time they met him, they said, I don't like that brother. There's something, I see that there's a competitive element in him that's trying to compete with how you're living life. You know what I mean? And for me, it was like, but I've got so much love for this guy. Even if there is this competitive element, I've got too much love for him. But moving down the line, the brother ended up doing something for me. And I said, you know what? I should have let this guy go a long time ago. And I think that's sometimes the hardest thing to understand. Just because you love someone doesn't mean you have to be around them. Doesn't mean that they're going to help you grow. Because we're at a very, very critical stage in our lives, especially when you're this young. The decisions you make can either take you up here or take you down here. Not saying you won't recover. Inshallah, all of you recover. But do you need to go through that process? You know, sometimes you have a friend, you know, I have a friend, he's playing football. Very, very, very good. He's very, very good at football. So good at football that he has trials for Arsenal. He goes to the trials for Arsenal and he gets injured. He gets injured at the trials for Arsenal. When he's injured, all his friends are going to a certain team. And they're saying, this is the best team, this is the best team, come to this team. So because he's injured, he's upset, he's frustrated, instead of friends saying to him, yo, you know what, just stick it out. This is Arsenal. You may not have the opportunity right now, but, you know, like, you're going to come up. They said, bro, come, let's all go. All go, you know what I mean? And he followed his friends. He followed them to that team they were all going. And now when I speak to him, he says to me, bro, the worst decision I made was listening to the people around me, was listening to the people. And you know what's even, you know what's crazy? And I empathize with this because I'm a parent now. What is crazy is that his mum said to him, don't do it. Don't do it. The same way my cousin said to me, this guy is not your friend, stay away from him. Sometimes we find it so hard to listen to the people that care about us the most. And that's why I say about friends of virtue and friends of goodness. Most of the time, your family have your best interests at heart. And sometimes we're conflicting between our family and our friends. Sometimes we say, my friends know me better, you know. Sometimes, you know, we say, oh, my parents don't let me do this. Or sometimes, you know, you lot are hating on me too much. My friends believe in me. But I'll tell you right now, you'll find very, very few people that believe in the outcome or very few people that believe in the process. By that, I mean, it's very easy to believe in success. It's very easy to believe in you when you play for Arsenal. It's very easy to give you an opinion when you're in Hollywood and you've got 1 million views on YouTube. But very few people invest in the process. Do you not understand what I mean when I say the process? So anything you want to achieve, what do you want to be when you're older, young brother? Right now, if you had to choose.
A footballer.
You want to be a footballer? What team you want to play for?
Arsenal.
That's it. I thought you were going to say Tottenham. I was going to say, nah, bro. You know, yeah. But when you want to be a football player, you being a footballer and stepping onto that pitch, that's the last phase of the journey. Every single day, you have to go through the process. The process is every day when you wake up and train. Every day when you kick the ball, or every day you try to, you know, learn a new trick. And a lot of people don't invest in the process. A lot of us are waiting on the result. We're waiting on the outcome. And a lot of friends don't see that as well. It's interesting. I have 2 stories to share with you. There's a very interesting story. Will Smith, the actor, he has a very interesting quote. He said one day, his dad asked him to build a wall. And he went out into the garden and he looked up to the wall and he was like, yo, Dad, how am I going to build this entire wall? And his dad said to him, you're looking at it the wrong way. You're looking at the result. And he says, what do you mean? He says, the purpose of a wall is not the entire wall, it's each individual brick that makes up the wall. So he said, your only job every single day is to make sure you plant that one brick as firmly as you can. And sometimes, because we want to play for Arsenal, we want to get to the last stage of stuff, we don't look at the little bricks in between. And that is the process. And that's an important part of any journey of success. And if you don't have friends that are going to hang around with you for the process, then they don't need to be there for the result. When I had 2-3 million views on YouTube, I had phone calls from everybody, you know what I mean? I'm on TV in America, you know, I'm walking in Hollywood. Hollywood, my first time in Hollywood, you know, and this is my first time in Hollywood. I saw Will Smith one day. The next day, I went to Sugar Ray Leonard, you know, the boxer? I drove to his house. My friend invited me to his house. You understand? The next day, we're going to elementary school. 300 students all just cleared out to come and hear me speak. Do you understand what I'm saying? And this is the result. When I was in my dorm room writing my poems and the rappers were on TV, they came from my estate and they were on the television. And who was there? Just me and my wife, just me and my cousins, just me and a few people. But when you get to the result, the world just explodes so fast. And it's so important to understand the process. There's a story, I'm going to paraphrase the story a little bit just to make it suitable for the context. So there's a young boy and his grandfather. And he says to his grandfather, why do I have to read the Quran every single day? I'm not learning anything. It's not staying with me. Why do I have to read it every single day? And his grandfather says to him, can you do something for me? So where they lived in like a little village, little town area. But at the bottom of the town area, there's like a sea, a landmass of sea, or maybe better phrase, the lake. And he says, I want you to take this basket in the corner that had an old basket full of coal. So it's black, it's dark, dirty basket, coal basket. And I want you to go down to the sea and bring me a full basket back of water so I can water the plants over here. And the boy says, what's this got to do with me not wanting to read the Quran? He said, if you do it and you can bring me that water back, full of the basket full, you don't have to worry about reading your Quran, it's fine. So the first day, the boy goes down to the sea. But what happens is when he fills the basket up, by the time he gets back to his grandfather, all the water is filled out the basket, because it's the basket. So he says, okay, try that again tomorrow. Same thing, the boy goes down to the river, comes back, the basket, all the water spills out the basket. The boy says, oh, grandfather, this is not going to work. He says, try another time. The third day, the boy does it. He comes back, same result. And he says, grandfather, why can't I just get a bucket and fill it full of water? And the grandfather says to him, I don't want a bucket full of water. I want a basket full of water. So this continues, 4th day, 5th day, 6th day. By the time he gets to the 6th day, the boy gives up. And he says to his grandfather, this gives up. I don't see what it's got to do with me reading the Quran, and I can't do this anymore. And the grandfather says, I want you to do something. I want you to go and look inside the basket. So remember, on the first day, this basket was black, it was dark, it was dirty, it was all, because it's just been there. When the boy went to look in the basket was shining and clean because he'd been watering it every single day. Although he wasn't seeing the result, the process of him putting water inside it every single day had cleaned out the basket. And his grandfather said to him, and that's why it's important for you to read the Quran. Because although you may not see the results there and then, it's purifying you in a way that you don't understand. And he said, let me show you one further, boy. So he says, come, let's walk. And he takes the boy and they walk along the path that the boy's been coming back every single day from the sea. And you know what they notice? They notice that little flowers have started to grow, little leaves. Because as the boy's been walking and the water's been spilling, he's been sowing seeds in the ground because of his journey. And I think so many of us, we disregard the journey and we think about the result. And when you're going to meet so many people that think about the result and people that don't care about the journey, I have a piece that I want to share with you, actually. There are two types of people in this world: those who are inspired and those who inspire, those who constantly long for and those who acquire. No idea is original, yes, there is truth in this. But the person who has the power to change his dream usually is. Because some people have dreams and chase them, while others sleep, waiting to be awakened, unaware that we can make a difference in our existence through hard work, resilience, and persistence. And most of you will think this is just a saying, and most of you won't believe me. But when you get a chance to go on Google Dashraf Manjihi, because a man can move mountains, because success is a ladder. And only some of us will find it. Only some of us will have the strength to climb it. But don't let your success define you. Let your success be defining. Because people that change the world do not let the world change them. Because some of us are meant to be amazed, while others are meant to be amazing. Thank you. So in that piece, I mentioned Dashraf Manjihi. Is anyone familiar with him? He's a man that was born in India in the 1940s. Is anyone familiar with him? So I'll tell you why the story of Dashraf, this is a true story, I'll tell you why the story of Dashraf is so powerful. This man was born in a village in India. And around, I'm not sure, 1950s, his wife has an accident. This guy is a miner. He works in the farms. And when his wife has this accident, she's ill and she's dying. And what Dashraf has to do is he thinks, I need to get to the hospital. But in between where they are in the hospital, there is a huge mountain. This is a true story. So because of the distance, 55 kilometers between where they are and where the hospital is, his wife dies. So what he does, he doesn't, I'm sure he grieves, but what he does is he doesn't say, you know what, this is just the circumstance, this is how it is. He doesn't let the situation stay it is. He takes a hammer and a chisel and he starts hammering through the mountain. For 22 years, this is a true story, for 22 years, he hammered through the mountain until he created a path. He reduced the distance from the hospital from 55 kilometers to 15 kilometers. This is one man, every single day. The process, consistency. It's not glamorous. It's not nice, but that's what's going to get us to where we need to be. That's what's going to make us a success. But at the same time as well, it's also where we find who's going to be with us along the way in the journey. And I think if you don't take anything away from that, from this talk, I think the most important thing is to understand who is with you on this journey. Who's going to be there at the start, who's going to be in the middle, and who's going to be there at the end. Because what's going to happen is so many people, a lot of you are going to be successful, and you're going to meet lots of people, and people are going to sell you dreams. Oh, dreams. I've heard all kinds of dreams, you know. There should be a statue of me somewhere in Lewisham because I've heard all these dreams that people have sold me, you know. But it's so important to stay true to the people that care about you, the friends that are around you, and the people that want to see you excel, and the people that want to see you succeed. I want to finish on, let me check my notes. I want to finish on the last piece because this piece is not really, it doesn't really center around the subject matter, but it's just, you know, I can't come and not do any spoken word. I can't come and not finish on any spoken word. So reminiscing on a bus through Peckham, thinking back to Wood Green and my friends and how I left them. 'Cause I made a little gold, moved up the yellow brick road to where the pigs don't patrol and your neighbors ain't on tag. I knew my boy for 20 years, but I've never met his dad. That reality is sad, but it's normal. Mad. I see a school kid carrying his hopes in his rucksack. I hit him with a nod and salam like, what's up, Ak? Knowing he's just trying to find his way out of this Baghdad. Inshallah, he survives the shooters and the brat. Don't get caught slipping by a Rambo in a man bag where these gentrifiers hold tight to their handbags. It's lonely at the top of this table when you're eating, but your fam still struggle like peasants in this Eden. For like the only slave with the papers to his freedom, a king on the throne, ashamed of his kingdom. That's the black man's burden. Get money, then take care of all your persons. No man left behind in the war. Some would argue that it's flawed, but to us it's been the law. Our dreams is seeing our mum not having work no more. I don't want to see my queen cleaning another man's floor. So that's at the back of his kid's mind with every goal that he scores, every track that he records. Only puts the grind on pause to help her with the chores, cause it's real. Cause out here it's really real. And I'm still searching for the meaning of life. Cause the Oxford Dictionary definition betrayed me. It convinced me that life could be categorized in a series of sentences. Maybe that works for prisoners, but I've always wanted to be free. And my wife's mum thinks that one day she'll win the lottery. How do I convince her that with 7 kids, she's already won it 7 times? So sometimes I wake early just to listen to the sunrise. Sometimes the morning sounds like a song that's out of tune. I just want to grow old without having really to grow up. Is that too much to ask for? But Hakuna Matata doesn't seem to apply when the rent is due. They say the best things in life are free, but did no one tell Baloo that the bare necessities cost money? Because where I'm from, how much your life is worth is measured in stop and searches. Where I'm from, how much your life is worth is measured in you match the description of. Never fear, because I hear the other side is beautiful. While over here, people are losing their lives in toilet cubicle. I look at our situation, come such a long way from the plantation. The fact that my Ralph Lauren jumper's 100% pure cotton is amazing, but then the irony's forgotten, because that means whether I'm in the field or Westfield, I'm still just picking cotton. That's why when I say R.I.P., I don't just mean rest in peace. I mean rewind it, please, so we can remain in peace. Because I had to read it properly to get it right in perspective. Because we reside in poverty, but don't want rights in property. We'd rather rob innocent people, because he gains respect in popping me. That's a real ignorant philosophy. We need to reject its prophecy. Stand up and R.I.P. Rep it properly, cause raw its peak went from rice in peas to rifles in pockets, ruining interstate projects. Raw its apart turns to riots in parks. Rotted I impede, remember I plead the realness I preach. We have reminders in present. Why you think the Damilola Taylor Center, R.I.P. remains in Peckham. Rise in position, life, remember its price. Because you say rude, but it's principle, but really it's pride. Raw, I've preached. Remember it, please. But if you don't, just remember this piece. So next time you hear me say R.I.P., know that I don't just mean rest in peace. I mean rewind it, please. I mean rewind it, please. I mean rewind it, please. So we can remain in peace. Peace. Appreciate your time, brothers.